Hello, travelers. Welcome to Life Between Flights, the podcast about the travel industry, small business, and all of the interruptions in between. I am your host, Cecily North Rudo, certified travel advisor and owner of Traveling North Travel Agency. And today we are going to be talking about marketing. But first, I wanted to talk about, so I know that this is going to be a little bit dated at this point, but over the holidays, several of us huge Disney fans learned that the vlogger Adam the Woo passed away very unexpectedly. And I've been seeing a lot of posts about him and just remembrances of him from various people. And I was introduced to him back in 2013. My husband at the time and I were going to D23, which is like Comic-Con, but for Disney nerds. It happens in Anaheim every 2 years. And this was our first time going to this convention and also going to Disneyland together. And we stayed at the Disneyland Hotel, which was fabulous and wonderful. But in doing my research, I came across one of the videos that Adam the Woo had created about the Disneyland Hotel. And I just instantly just fell in love with him as a vlogger and continued to follow him for many, many years and watching his videos, and just always loved his comments and his real insight into his life and seeing all the things that he was doing and all of the things that he wanted to do, and just being very honest about, what his life was like and his struggles and what was happening. And he actually inspired me to do a water only challenge, which meant just giving up, soda and coffee and tea and all of that stuff for 2 months back in 2015, which was actually right before we went back to D23 for the second time in 2015. And so it's just interesting how people, especially people that you never meet, come into your lives and kind of inspire you in different ways. And actually, when we went to D23 in 2015, my ex-husband and I were sorcerers that year, which was just like the VIP level. And so I'm not usually a panel person. I'm not interested in going to the big, huge panels with all of the celebrities and all of that stuff. I'd much rather go to the things that are about the history or about costumes or about the archives exhibits, of course, are always my number one. But I was never really interested in going to the big, huge panel discussions. But I went to one that I believe was the parks announcements for that year. And Adam the Woo was doing his stuff live, and he was in the big room with everybody, and we were, as sorcerers, kind of sitting towards the front, and I saw him come around, and I stood up and I shouted at him and was totally fangirling over him from afar, which just, I don't know, it was just so funny to me. And then later on at the convention, I saw him by himself later on, but just could not get up the nerve to go over and just say hi to him and tell him how much that I enjoyed his content and everything that he does. And now 10 years later, it's just crazy that he's no longer here and that we're not going to be seeing his content anymore. And I know, so many people were much closer to him, obviously, than me, and to know that there's just kind of this hole in the world where all of, what he did and his content and everything was living. But I know that we will continue to get to see everything that he did because he put it all online and put it on YouTube for us to enjoy. So all of my episodes are starting out very depressing, but I just wanted to acknowledge the very, very far reach that Adam the Woo had across the world, really. So many people have reached out and commented about just how his content has, inspired them, and that was what I was thinking about today. So today's episode, we're going to be talking about marketing. So I am not a marketing expert. I don't claim to be. I definitely learned a lot of things the hard way in marketing, but I wanted to talk about it, and we will talk about marketing in various different ways in the future. But, there's so many books and just resources out there for marketing. So I don't want to take a ton of time talking about marketing, but I know how important it is when you're starting out your business and getting your name out there, getting your brand out there, to find the avenues of branding that work for you. So in the future, we're going to be talking to some marketing experts, some branding experts, graphic designers, web designers, things like that. But for today, I just wanted to go over some simple steps for marketing when I started my business in 2014. Again, I did none of this. I did none of these steps that I'm going to go over. I have since done them, and we'll talk about each as I go through them, but realizing how important they are to your marketing and your goals and building your business is truly One of the things I should have given more attention to in the beginning, because like I've said in many other episodes, I did not run my business like a business for the first several years. I just assumed people were going to come to me, and that's just not how it works. You have to market yourself, and you have to network, and you have to put yourself out there in various ways for people to find you. And so we'll start with the very first thing, and I've talked about this before with just the steps of how to start your business, but market research. And really that is looking at your competition. It's looking at, what's happening in your area. If you're going to be providing a service that is just for your town, your county, your state, if it's very regional, you want to be looking at who else is providing that service. You want to be looking at what type of services they are offering. As a travel advisor, it's not only that we're providing travel services, but some agents don't work with flights at all. Some agents only do cruises. Some agents only do 55 and over. Some agents only do families. So you want to be looking at what your competition is locally to you and just see what services are being provided, and if there's a gap there. And looking at just all the different ways that your competition is running their businesses, and what are they doing that's working. That's another thing, is also looking to see what's working for others that you could potentially copy their ideas and make it work for you. The next thing, which is something I did not do until 3 years ago, is setting SMART goals. So SMART goals just basically means that you're setting actual accountable terms to them. So you're setting a time for them. You're making it measurable. You're making it accountable. And you can read in so many places about SMART goals. I've done a lot of trainings in my librarian work around SMART goals, and for a while we had to have SMART goals and all of that stuff. But really setting any kind of goals for your business is always important as we're going into this new year. I was just talking to someone in an interview, and she was like, well, what's your goal for 2026? And honestly, at the time, I did not have one. I was like, I've kind of reached the goals that I've been setting for myself for the past couple years, and they're kind of now becoming baseline for me. So my goals now are focusing more on the podcast and helping other agents and their business owners, and also realizing, and we will talk about goal setting in another podcast, but realizing that with the goals that I set for myself, now that I've achieved them, but it's just, you've reached these goals and you think your life is going to change, and you hit them and it's like, nothing's changed. Like nothing, these goals that I've set for myself, yeah, it's been great and it's been wonderful to achieve them. But it's like, okay, now what? Now what do I do? So I'm still continuing to work on my goals, and, goals can be set. They don't have to be at the beginning of every year. You can set if you're starting your business in the middle of the year or at the end of the year, you can set up your quarterly goals or a weekly goal or a daily goal, even just something that you would want to accomplish every single day that moves the needle just a little bit forward. There's lots of different ways to do the goal setting. And that's one thing to definitely think about, is especially when you're starting, like what is going to be kind of those things that motivate you to keep going in those early days when maybe things aren't going as smoothly as you would like them to in those very early days. And is it just you've got one new customer, or you've got one more one-on-one meeting, or you've gone to 2 networking meetings in a month or something like that? There's just so many ways that you can think about your goals and think about what that's going to help do for your business, and really identifying what you're looking for. I think that's one of the big things too when you're doing these kind of beginning stages, is really crafting what you want out of your business and what success looks like to you, because everyone looks at it differently, which I also have learned just in the past year, that everybody not that they run their businesses differently, but everybody's idea of success is different. And that's been one thing, like for me, and again, this goes back to setting goals, but with my host agency, we have a thing called 5-star, and it's like our top agents that make the most money essentially. And I never in a million years thought that I was going to hit 5-star. And then in 2023 into 2024, I hit 5-star for the first time, which was amazing. And then in 2025, I hit 5-star again, which is also like for a goal that I never thought I could achieve, to have achieved it twice is mind-blowing. And I just assumed that every agent in Dugan's wanted to hit 5-star. And then I was at a workshop at a boot camp last year and was talking to other agents, and agents that have been around way longer than I have, and they have no interest in hitting 5-star, which was just mind-blowing to me, because I just assumed naively that everybody wanted to be at the top of the pack, really. And it's like, no, that it really isn't everyone's goal to be at the very top. Maybe they just want it enough to, pay for their own travel, or, be able to help friends and family, or maybe this is just a side thing for in retirement, and it still allows you the flexibility to do what you want to do, or it's just helping you as a side business while you're working a full-time job to help pay the bills. Whatever it is, it doesn't, your goals are not going to be the same as everyone else's. So that was a really big thing for me in this past year, to realize, not everyone thinks of it the same way that I do, and their ideas of success are not the same as me. Another thing that you'll want to do is you're going to want to identify your audience. Now, I know when we're first starting out in business and you're thinking, I will work with anyone. I want to work with, and you will hear this a lot, and we will talk a whole episode about just niches in particular, and then we'll have individual episodes about various niches. But you'll hear in the very beginning, find a niche. There's, like I said before, there's agents that just do cruises. There's agents that just do Disney. There's agents that just do wine travel, wine tours and things like that. There's agents that just do World War II travel. And that's very niche. And so when you're starting out and you're thinking that you're going to want to work with everyone, you're going to take what people will bring to you. And my niche in the very beginning was Disney and Universal, because that's what I had been doing. But now Disney and Universal is such a small portion of my business, and I've really learned that my niche is highly customized itineraries. So regardless of where people want to go, but I don't do a lot of group travel. I don't do a lot of cruises. I don't do a lot of that kind of stuff. I do these very, very customized piece by piece itineraries, and that's what my niche is. So now identifying those audiences and being like, I don't want to work with the people with zero budgets. I don't want to work with people that only do one, maybe they just do one all-inclusive week trip a year. Not that I wouldn't love to work with those people, but that isn't necessarily what my niche is. Let's say I just wanted to do golf vacations. We'll start figuring out what that audience is. It's going to be golfers. It's going to be people that like to travel and that have a bucket list of those places that they want to travel to golf, and all of the things that come with that. So it's are they bringing their equipment with them? Are they renting it? Are they wanting to fly private, or are they wanting to fly charter or something like that? Finding all of these different unique places that they can go to. What does that exactly look like? And you can work with professionals to really narrow down those audiences, and that's who you're going to market to. And then when you actually come up with your marketing plan, you know who you're going to market to. You know that golf vacations, you're probably not going to be advertising to the 18 to 25-year-old crowd, maybe not even the 18 to 35-year-old crowd. But if you have kind of an idea of who you want to market to, that certainly helps plan your marketing plan, but also where your marketing dollars are going to go. Just identifying that audience and knowing that you don't necessarily want to work with every single person out there, because that just isn't realistic or feasible. The next thing you're going to want to do, and this took me a very, very long time as well, but you're going to craft your unique value proposition, which is basically what makes you different from everybody else. I am constantly working on mine, but I know for me in particular, my thing that I tell people, especially now with AI and everyone thinking that AI can build a trip for them and book a trip for them, and what I tell them is that if something goes wrong and you've booked everything using AI can't help you fix it. AI will not call on your behalf and be able to fix all of those things for you. And I tell people, when you book with me, you get me. You don't get an 800 number. You don't get a chatbot. You get me as a real human being. And I think that's something that a lot of people are going to be looking. There, of course, are going to be the people that just want to go on to ChatGPT and say, hey, build me an itinerary for a trip to Italy for a week in September, which it can do that. And I tell people all the time, do the research to your heart's content, but when it actually comes to booking, book with a real live human, because we will be able to be there when something goes wrong or something changes, or if there's a train strike and now you need to figure out how you're going to get to your next destination when your train isn't going to be arriving, things like that. There's just so many different things out there. Of course, we help to take the stress off of travel planning, and also when you're people that travel with their families, or they travel with groups, or they're traveling say a family reunion or something like that, and you're helping to take all of the stress away and all of those fights between family members, because you're the one taking care of the payments, you're taking care of the reservations, you're coordinating everything so that everybody knows that they have their own reservations and their own unique part of the vacation, but they're not having to deal with their family members when having to talk about, well, who's staying in which room, who's paying for what, all of that stuff. You can help that and just take that stress and that conflict away from your clients. And there's so many other things that we do in businesses in general. What just makes you different from your competition? What makes you different from AI? Working with either a marketing professional or working with a business librarian, they can help you to craft those propositions. The next thing you're going to want to do is create a marketing plan. And I too did not do this until 2023. And actually, it was with Carnival Cruise Lines. I went to one of their events where it was basically a day of creating a marketing plan. And that one was really it was a whole booklet, and you can find a lot of resources online on how to create a marketing plan, but it includes your budgets and your audiences and, what are you going to do in certain timeframes? What's your goal for the next month? What's your next goal for 3 months from now or 6 months from now or a year from now? If you're putting all of these pieces in marketing into place, where do you hope to see the results of that? What are you going to be tracking to make sure that your marketing plan is successful or not? If you're going into Facebook ads and things like that, you can make kind of a plan A and a plan B, and you can market it to different demographics. You can market it to just different people or different areas, and you can compare and contrast. This one worked really, really well for women between 35 and 55. It's all about, multi-gen and taking the stress off of vacation planning for them, versus a similar ad, but it's geared towards the grandparents, and it's, taking care of the grandchildren and making sure that everyone's having a wonderful time for all ages. You can do all of that and see how those compare, even though you're basically offering the same thing. It's just your ad's going to be a little bit different. But there's so many ways to compare and creating different kinds of marketing, everything from the digital, online, the social media ads, the Google ads, the Facebook ads, all of that stuff, to online newsletters, doing your own blog on your website, to print magazines still. I advertise in a few print places, and then I also advertise in a digital newsletter in addition to a couple other places, and just measuring how those are going to perform and see if that's really worth your marketing dollars. And then the last part of it is measuring the performance. So I currently advertise regularly in 2 print magazines and 1 digital newsletter. The digital newsletter has brought me more clients than the 2 print magazines have. The print magazines are way more expensive, and they have not brought me clients like the digital newsletter has. The digital newsletter is also way less expensive. And so I know when my contracts are coming up that I probably won't renew with the print magazines because I am not getting clients out of it and I'm wasting a whole lot of money. But I wouldn't have known that had I not tried it. So, I'm willing to take the risk, but now I know when I get approached again for another print magazine or have a different marketing opportunity, I probably am not going to take the print option because it has not been a successful way for me to get new clients. But you need to look at that and decide what's going to be, again, decide what's successful to you, decide what's working for you, what's not. And that's also when we get into qualifying clients, that's one of the questions that I ask when I get my initial contact from clients is, how did you hear about me? Whether it's a print ad, a digital ad, they were referred to me by a friend or a colleague. Did they find me on social media? Did they find me on my website? Did they find me through the chamber or any other groups that I'm part of? So there's lots of ways to track that. And as you do, and you can see if it's really worth your investment or not. So this has been a very short rundown. Again, there are so many resources out there for just marketing in general, but I wanted to kind of talk about sort of my experience and where I've used some of these things, and also just things to consider when you're just starting to market yourself. One thing I will say, so a big thing is also asking for reviews. As soon as you get your first client and they have traveled, be sure that you're asking them for a review. I actually got a 5-star review today from wonderful clients who I'm so excited had a wonderful trip. They traveled about a little over a month ago, and they wrote a wonderful review for me today, which I am so excited about. So there's ways to start getting great feedback right away and have a system in place for that. And I will also say, so if you are part of Travel Leaders, which Dugan's is part of Travel Leaders, so they have a program called Agent Profiler. And you just put in your bio, you can put in all of your information, the types, your niches, where you've traveled, who you've worked with, all of that stuff. You can put in photos and videos and all of those things. You can put in your certifications and your trainings, and you can write story. Like, they just have so much that you can put in there. And part of it is getting reviews. And so in order to get to super agent status, you have to have a certain number of reviews. So I was really focusing on getting reviews into my agent profiler for many years, and then I hit my super agent level, and also getting advice from my web developer, and he was like, you should really start putting all of your reviews into your Google business profile, because that's how people are going to find you. And so that's where I've been focusing now. When my clients return home, they get a welcome home email. It asks for feedback about the trip, but then also if they would like to write a review, it includes my Google business profile where they can write a review. And that truly has helped bring in new clients and has helped my results show up in Google and all of that stuff. So be sure that when you're getting your first clients that you already have that system up in place for when people are coming back from their trips or they're using your services, that they can write a review for you in one way or another. And then you can also take that information and share it on your social media. You can share it on your website and say, hey, I just got this wonderful 5-star review from these clients. I'm so lucky that I got to work with them. Thank you so much. If you would like to work with me, or if you would like to refer me to someone that referrals are always welcome. There's so many ways to phrase that, but getting those referrals and things like that is the number one way to get more business, is when people genuinely work with you and they see you as a person and they see the work that you are doing, they are going to be more likely to refer you to somebody else. And that's huge for any small business. The other thing, as part of a marketing thing that I've done, is you can host an event. So I've done it once so far. I would like to do it again, probably in the summer. But I did a travel night where I invited clients and invited them to bring people with them. And I just had like snacks and brochures out. A friend of mine who owns a small shop here in town, she hosted it. I was able to talk to people about travel. I was talking to some clients of mine, but then also people that I've known for a while who aren't clients that wanted to ask me travel questions. And then, of course, when friends of mine they're bringing their families, they're bringing friends, and we're able to talk more travel stuff. It just highlights more of what I do and my expertise. I also had like my marketing there. I had magazines there, postcards, like things that they could go home with. I also had like a giveaway basket for people to enter and get their information. So that was also another really, really great event. It was so much fun. I would really love to do it again. And it's just another way for your clients and people that they know you, but then you want them to invite more people so that they get to know you even better. And then they'll want to work with you as well. So with that, we will be talking to more marketing professionals in the future, someone that has run a whole marketing company, others that have worked in various marketing departments across industries. I'll be talking to a brand designer, a photographer who helps companies come up with all of their branding and marketing information. There are so many people out there that do marketing, and especially now with social media and all of that stuff, it helps to have some professionals out there to help when you just don't know where to go. We'll also be talking to business librarians about what they do and helping with these kind of marketing plans and this market research. That is one of the big things that they help with as well. So with that, I hope this has been a really helpful discussion and able to give you some insights and ideas about marketing and thinking about your business in different ways and setting up goals for yourself and hoping to move the needle forward in your business and becoming wildly successful. So with that, until next time, safe travels, and may your luggage follow you wherever you go. Today's episode of Life Between Flights was sponsored by me, Traveling North, produced by me and edited by Nomad Creations. Please check out the show notes for referral links, discount codes, and more resources that I've talked about in this episode. You can also follow along on our social media on Facebook and Instagram at Life Between Flights Pod. If you want help planning your next adventure, you can always check me out at travelingnorthagency.com. If you have any questions, ideas, or would like to sponsor this podcast, you can email us at lifebetweenflightspod@gmail.com.